So this is the final.
Not final.
Well, this will be Memoirs of a Cheater, unplugged. Um, it's interesting because I think since we put out the first two,
Cold, I think.
well, I don't think we went into the depth of the crap that I was in. Right. We didn't
So
really talk
we
about
were
that.
discussing what you were doing in life with. You're now living with another woman and married to someone else, right? And seeing other multiple people, but we didn't discuss really how you were feeling and why.
I was seeking out to be numb in each interaction, to not think about my crap. I'd be in their crap, and it's almost like it. Some would call it an energy exchange, but I think everybody's seeing this. How this is my individual story. I kind of looked at it and realized, I was kind of an asshole, but I was kind of. Some have different ways of looking at it, that it was all about me, but it really wasn't all about me. Anytime somebody tried to redirect and make it about me, I wasn't important enough for it to be about me.
What does that mean?
Well, I just had no self-respect. I had no, I thought, okay, you hang around with certain people, or I was hanging around with a certain crowd that made it seem like it was okay to be this way. It was okay to be after, be with all of these different women. And
Peer pressure?
no, I wouldn't say peer pressure. I would say broken mommy syndrome.
Okay.
Which is, it's I want all of this love and all of this energy that was taken away from me, but I know that you're going to take it away from me, so I'm going to take it away first.
Okay.
And that kind of happens because, that's where you're directly connected to. You can never do no wrong in that area, but you do wrong because, but this person always accepts you for all of the things that you continue to keep doing. It's just you don't accept yourself. So it's almost like you find a way to be in the hidden space, but you're in the exposed space at the same time.
Okay.
It was really strange because even when if I got caught, it was like, oh.
It didn't bother you? It didn't.
I could
freak
try
you
to
out,
say,
or?
I could say I'm sorry, but I didn't know what sorry meant.
Okay.
Because I'd never seen what that would look like. I never saw
Did you
either
feel
one.
anxious or worried that you would get caught, or was it? Let me ask this because everybody's curious. Was that part of the rush?
It was part of the escape.
Okay.
And what the escape was, if as long as I keep going, I just always look busy. So you could chalk it up to me being busy that instead of me being with somebody else. So it was an illusion at best, because when you're young, when you're watching these kinds of things growing up, we hear a lot about, they're not going to understand, they're too young, or this doesn't really concern them. So you have to come up with what you saw on your own. In some cases, it's going to make sense to you, but you'll live what makes sense to you. You'll live what makes sense to you.
Okay.
So the way I was living was, mom never found out about that.
Okay.
So if I got exposed, it was like, oh, well, I'll move on. It really wasn't. It just didn't. It was like never a phasing moment because I never saw what that would look like.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you see it, like I said, you'll make some. We make things our reality based on what we think things are. And in this particular case, because that's the way I saw reality, I thought this is how I show up in.
But did you ever one time think, I'm not him, I'm my own self, and I don't need to be repeating those cycles?
You know what? I absolutely said I'm not my father.
Oh, okay.
That was the illusion. We say we're not the two people that brought us into this world, but we end up taking pieces of them from what they say about each other and how they show up with each other.
Okay.
And if they end up dividing, you're divided on the inside. You'll choose which side of you, which one you're going to be. You can choose to be more like your mom, or you can choose to be more like your dad, or you can choose to be like neither. But you're going to pick up all of their traits without even seeing that that's what you're bringing into connection. And when the way that you will be connected to yourself is how they treated each other.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured that one out because I didn't realize how I was cheating on myself. Right? If you look at it, that's how I did it. It becomes almost illusionary. And the cool thing is the only way to really understand what we are saying here is you can't just point at the picture and judge somebody, because that means you secretly know how to do it to yourself. And that's literally what happens, because you can point at other people who do those kinds of things. You point at people, and you grow up around. My mom would have been like, well, men who cheat are horrible, mean, disgusting people. But then my mom never said anything like that. Matter of fact, my mom was with somebody who was married. Okay. So it was almost like, okay, so all of these variables really do take place inside of you. Even if you don't want them to, they have a really ugly way of showing up.
So I think that the general public's going to be asking some really straightforward questions.
Absolutely.
Like, did it ever weigh on your conscience at all what you were doing to people that you loved or you were claiming that you loved or cared for?
Consciousness to me was the I don't care space.
Okay.
At that time, you know what I mean?
Okay, so no, you didn't have any feelings of regret or remorse or when you went home and laid down with the person that you were with, did you feel any type of guilt or?
Okay. There's a good way to explain this. It was like an addiction. An addiction usually comes from a refusal to go into your pain, a refusal to go into your hurt.
Okay.
So as long as I kept myself high, right? Okay. And that's what it was like. It was a high. I would go from this to this to this to this to this. And that's literally what we're doing when we don't want to face what we're running from.
Right.
And when you can do that so much, at some point you forget why you're doing it anymore.
Right.
You're just chasing the high just to stay away from the unknown. When the crescendo happened with coming into your world and that what it did to me, what it felt like to be near you, what it felt like to talk to you, what it felt like to be free about talking about different things, and you calling out on my bullshit, and just wanted to know the truth. It wasn't like it was really. I don't know if you intentionally meant to ask me the truth without judging me, but then when I started to learn that's what you used to do with your father, it kind of made sense. You know what I mean? It really was like this big, huge lock that just was like this door was open, and I was looking going, oh shit, I don't want to go in there, because if I go into this and let the truth just fall where it is, I was trying to tell myself, I don't know who I'm going to be. I'm going to be destroyed. I'm going to be broken. I'm going to die if this catches up to me. And what happened was when the entire truth was, there was one person here, you, who knew all of everything I was doing.
I didn't in the beginning, though.
No, not
right.
From 2005 to 2009. You
right.
didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
You did.
I mean, I had suspicions that things were not.
You called.
Right.
You called. You said that too? Okay. I saw a shadow.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like, I don't know what that was. So, but I guess we're doing something right. So there was a part where you kept digging though. It's like you kept digging, but then you would step back and it was like, okay, she's still standing here even if and she's asking for the truth, but does she really want the truth? And I kept telling myself on the inside, as a cheater would, she finds out the truth, I've lost her. But I'd never faced what losing someone would mean, because I had just suffered that great loss, right, with my mom. It was now no longer, I couldn't escape it anymore.
So catch everybody up. I want to catch everybody up to where we're at now. Those who haven't seen our journey, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, you were living with someone, married to someone else, and seeing multiple people all over the place because you were able to do that because you were a district manager for some company and you were traveling from city to city to city. So you'd set up people that you had met in different cities where you traveled to. Is that what you did, or?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when you traveled to each city, then you were able to stay with somebody or have somebody come to your hotel room, or was it the same people that you saw?
No. When you keep going, when you go to a liquor store, there's a shelf, right? There's all kinds of different liquors. I'm sorry, but this is kind of like, okay, I've never tried this liquor before.
The liquor store.
But drug of choice.
Okay.
And
so you would just go out to a bar, or go out and sit somewhere, find somebody, and then that was
it. No, actually, no. I probably had it pre-set up.
Okay.
Whether I was on, a different type of dating site or something. I mean, or sometimes it was just people that I met who were friends of people who were, you know what I mean?
I want to touch on that because you were on several different dating sites.
Okay.
All the while being married and living with someone else. Did that ever freak you out? Like you would get caught, like they would find you, or your wife would find you on a dating site, or your girlfriend would find you on a dating site? Because now you've got double trouble, right? Mm-hmm. Now you've got 4 sets of eyes that could be researching to figure out what the hell it is you're doing. Mm-hmm. So did that ever worry you or put you into any kind of panic that you were, because your pictures were on there?
Mm-hmm.
That was bold. You're welcome.
I don't know if it was bold or if it was just I don't think I had any common sense. All common sense goes out all common sense goes out the window when you're addicted, when you have an addiction. And we don't like to call cheating an addiction. We call it a choice.
Okay.
And I don't think we actually look to see what causes addiction. If you go deep inside of what causes addiction, you're going to find the same things that show up because you cheat yourself out of your life when you do drugs.
That's a big controversy right now in the world. Is addiction a disease or a choice? We won't get into that controversy, but I understand what you're saying.
Nobody's saying, hey, let's go into your pain and find out. Run from your pain or cope with your pain, but let's go into it and see what the hell it is.
Gotcha.
And the thing was, it was like a kicking and screaming fight. Mm-hmm. If I felt like that it was catching up to me, and then I would just do even more. It was just like it's like doing drugs, but it was like I would just reach out more, and to me it was like a different stage of self that I didn't really care. I would have more. If I lost 1, I had to replace with 5.
Okay.
If I lost 5, I had to replace with 20. It's almost, and the thing was, the entire time, all because I didn't want the present moment to catch up to me.
Oh, I see.
Because the present moment is where all my pain was, where all my hurt was, where all my, and the story was about all of the shit that I've already done, was the story about all the shit that I've been through. The story is the reason for everything. But that's the reason that addiction gets created, because of our story. Not because of what we experience in our story, what we're running from because of what the story did to us.
So how were you feeling? What was your emotions like? The reason I ask this is because a lot of times if somebody's cheating, when they come home, it's emotionally draining, right? So were you giving attention and sexual attention and emotional attention to the person you lived with as well as your wife, right? And any other significant others that were out there? Were you actually fulfilling them and giving them the attention that they needed and craved from you being a partner to them?
No.
Okay.
Because the emotional availability that they never had, I would give a little bit of, but I would never give them the whole thing. So I didn't have to do much.
Okay.
Because you expect a man not to be emotionally available. Even a man expects another man not to be emotionally available. So knowing that I could give a little bit of that
Okay.
and just be slightly different. But at the same time, I didn't even know if that was really emotional availability because I didn't know how to be emotionally available to myself. Again, cheating myself out of what was, cheating myself out of what is. Cheating in this particular case isn't so much it is about everybody outside of you, but it is about what you're cheating yourself out of eventually.
What you're doing to yourself.
And what you're doing is you're trying to cheat your hurt.
Okay.
You're trying to get away from it. You're trying to make it, and you're trying to make it the reason why you should be. And you're trying to make it why the reason you're not going to be.
So, did you ever, if somebody out of the main people, the people that you were living with in your life, any of the other people that you were seeing started asking questions, like I did, for instance, like, wait a minute, now, what's going on? And I never hear from you till I never hear from you after 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're only showing up on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
You're only texting me when you're close in town, whatever. Did anybody start to ask questions and say, like, wait a minute, are you married? Are you living with somebody? What would happen if somebody started asking questions?
What happened between 2005 and 2007?
Yeah, you left.
I disappeared.
Yeah.
Right?
So you would just take off.
You want to ask questions, I'll find somebody who doesn't. Because then you're focusing on me. And I don't want to focus on me.
Gotcha.
So why am I going to let you focus on me when I don't?
Right.
It's like I could easily cut you off because I knew how to cut myself off.
Right.
So why? And again, that's a part of the greater part of cheating is you're never going to know the real me because I tell myself that I don't matter. I tell myself I'm not enough. I tell myself I should have never been born. There's a level of commitment that you have to cheating that fixes addictions, right?
You had a level of commitment,
and it doesn't just fix addiction; it creates more ways to be addicted, right? And it ultimately it was you want to keep away from the truth because the truth will set you free. And I didn't know how to accept. Oh, hi there.
No, he was yelling at you.
Yeah, no. There's a part of it where there's shadows and birds.
Female blue jay just bitched him out. Reincarnated girlfriend.
Wow, you did go there. Or maybe
She looked familiar.
Wow.
Sorry. She come back to tell you about yourself.
Somebody needed to. Though, when all was said and done, in 2009, nothing could stop the hurt and the pain from catching up.
Right.
And it did kill me. It
Right.
needed to kill that way of thinking. And see, I think when we're afraid of death because we're afraid of what it's going to do to us. But the one thing that we look forward to is the peace of not having a mind. Right. and I never realized that was going to be the outcome if I just let it hit me. Mm-hmm. And when it did, if you remember my energy coming out of it, after you knew everything, you even things you didn't know, you started even asking even deeper questions too, because what did I have to lose? I had already lost everything.
Yeah, and I kind of want to wrap this up because we've got one more video on the cheating. We're gonna to wrap up the series after this one because we don't want them to be too long. But I want to kind of go back a little bit to when we met and what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and your actions. You know what I mean? When back in 2005, when we met on a dating site, by the way, and I was single, and you were not, but I didn't know that.
But you were dating.
But I was
So-
I was dating others. I
It,
wasn't.
it hadn't
yeah.
entered your thought process to
Yeah.
wonder if I was.
Right. No, at that point, no. And we had spent some time together and had met um and then if you've seen our journey, then you kind of know what happened. If you haven't, it was pretty intense. But there were some email exchanges with me asking questions. There were after a period of time with me going, wait a minute, I don't hear from you till after then I was starting to wonder, what's really going on, because I felt this connection to you unlike anybody else that I had been, with or dating.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary to me, because when you looked at me, you looked away, because I knew that you could see in me, but I think you knew that I could see in you, and you would turn your eyes, where I was just an open book, and I didn't care at that point, right? For you to be able to see into me.
Well, in certain moments when we would see into each other, though, there were when I wouldn't look away.
A cold or something.
Was when I felt like you could see what I was doing to that thing in me, what I was doing to that child within me, what I was doing to just me in general.
Right.
And you didn't look away.
Right.
Which I had always expected somebody to look away, and it was very connecting, but at the same time it was very surrendering. And I didn't like to feel that surrender. Especially it would when I would leave, I'd be on this high, and I would have to snap myself out of it because I could feel things catching up.
For those of you who haven't watched our entire journey on YouTube,
This makes sense if you've seen that.
This makes sense if you have seen the journey, but to back it up just a little bit, Lee would not sleep with me. And that raised more questions in me. Being in my 30s, and we had some intimate and sexual interactions, but you would not have intercourse with me. Which made me wonder, is he married and taking that I'm not cheating route if I don't have sex? Or many things crossed my mind. The
feeling with you was inside of my dream. And then I was like, I don't even deserve that. And nor should I even try to push too far, because if that comes out, then everything else has to.
Right.
And I couldn't have my dream. I wanted this dream. I was dreaming about it. I was trying to be someplace else or be somebody else.
And what was the dream? And I think we'll finish at that dream and then continue on with the final one.
I think the best way to just answer what the dream was is it was free. And that was something I couldn't afford to be.
Did you ever feel like you could be free with one person?
No, because I wasn't that one person that deserved that. I wasn't that one person that the way I saw things, I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way that I was raised, I didn't see that. So I didn't know what free meant. I always knew that somehow you would be imprisoned. And I was already imprisoned on the inside, never sharing who I was. So believing that there could be one person who would get all of that, I started itching.
My nose is running, my eyes are itching.
It wasn't something that was easy to see. I didn't know. The dream itself was this feeling of just
being free.
Yeah, and
with all that weight off of your chest, with all that,
without any more lies.
Right.
Free.
Right.
But I didn't get that then. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard for me to go back and it's not hard for me to go back and explain it, because we found that talking about those hurts and those pains is what releases you. It doesn't keep you in prison. And a lot of people don't get that part either. Right. Like I said, going into your hurt is what changes you. Going into what that pain actually is what changes you. You're just afraid of what you're going to be once you get inside of it. But if you get inside of it without your story, or take your story into it, you'll see your story differently. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know that's what it would do.
I know you don't have like a sober date, but do you remember when you stopped that behavior? Do you remember when that behavior was no more? Because I asked you that because they're gonna ask when did you stop? Because it didn't stop completely after you met me, because there was you had the 2 years that you had left, and then I had met someone else and was living with them, and when you came back. So when you came back into my life, and then there were still others, and there were still some things going on.
November 8th, 2008 started it. The purge.
Started it.
April,
So it wasn't like a I'm done cheating day. It was a process.
It actually kind of was like that. April 24th, 2009 was when I let the pain consume me. And I told you.
What happened when that happened?
I told you everything.
Oh, okay.
And you blocked me and disconnected me and just were completely gone. And then I was just left with the pain. And I said, just take me then, because I mean, the only woman I ever knew who would ever love me is gone already. And I knew that she would never be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
That was my story, and that's what I was sticking to. And in that moment, it was allowed to catch up to me, because what it was is I was with my wife, and you felt it. And then I knew, oh shit, I could feel you and felt calling to you. And then it had dawned on me that there could be one. There could be, but I'm not clean, and I'm not there. So when you felt that, I mean, you were of course with somebody else, but you felt it and you just called me out on it, and you called it to the carpet. I just said, yeah, you're right. And it was like a sigh of relief, but oh shit, here comes the rest of it.
Right.
And then it was just of course I didn't hear from you until after your birthday. But it was like there was that stretch between April 24th was the day that I experienced the greatest pain. I finally accepted and embraced it. Because if you don't connect to your pain, why would you let anybody else connect to you?
Right.
And I think that's what you started to feel. And it took to have dry eyes, it took until about mid-June, right?
Right.
But then it wasn't, all of everything I ever did. Just, I had to let it consume me. And I had to stay in it, and I had to listen to myself, tell myself the story. And I needed to listen to myself, tell myself why I didn't have have any regrets or have any of those feelings that I had when I was doing it. All of that does catch up. And, part of the addiction is running from that. And that's the day that the addiction died.
Okay.
Right?
And had you made a decision at that point?
Yes, I made a decision at that point to let it kill me.
Okay.
And it did. It killed and see, when you start to hear why you were doing it, you start to hear your thought processes because I kept feeling, I woke up like, well, my phone's not ringing, or somebody would message, or somebody would call, and I wouldn't answer. Normally I've been on it like, yeah, when, where, I would have been all over it.
Right.
I was isolated. I was in a box with my story, and I started
in your bedroom.
Yeah, and that's when I started to go back to realize how I got it.
Let's end there.
Yeah.
So we'll start with how you got there.
Yeah,
And the next one.
absolutely.
We're falling apart over here.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Well, we're going through metamorphosis, but I think everybody is.
Something.
We love you. See you soon.